optimism today as well. Are we in for more similar days, or do you believe the cuts could be there, but the quantum of that could reduce?
Yeah, so the cuts could be there, but the quantum of the cuts could reduce. Good morning. We've broken below major support for the index. That's a critical part. We're discussing 25,500 and the importance of 25,500. That why over the last 1 week we were holding on to that 25,500 mark, and what happens if the index breaches or breaks below that 25,500 levels. And we saw the intensity of the selling yesterday. It's just accelerated to another level in terms of the selling which we've seen from the levels below this critical support for the index. And there are a lot of things which have happened for the index. We are at one of the worst days in terms of the net market breadth, in terms of advanced decline. We're looking at stocks which are hitting oversold zones on the RSIs, but then the price is not suggesting any major kind of a bottom formation over here. The Nifty is coming very close towards a breakdown of its 200-day moving average. I think if we break below this 25,110 or 113 mark, that's the 200 DMA, then I think we could be in for a confirmation of a breakdown of sorts over there. The concern which is there for the markets as such, and my sense is what I could probably look at it this from a chartical perspective. The reason why we've seen such kind of a sell-off is that many of these large cap names. So just to give a perspective, HDFC Bank, Reliance Industries, Wipro, ITC, etc. These stocks are below their 200-day moving averages by a margin of minimum 5%. Now, when you have almost, say for example, a 30% or a 50% weightage on the Nifty 50, which are down below their long-term moving averages and by a margin of 5% at least, it's eventually going to add pressure to the index. I think that's what we are seeing, a very knee-jerk reaction to the indices, but more like the market's correcting itself and trying to come back to the constituents where they are. So it's more like a mean reversion of sorts for the indices. My sense is we should be breaking below the 200 moving average, if not today, maybe over the next couple of days for the indices, and probably a break below the 25,000 mark could also be in line.
Kunal, we've seen also rollover beginning to happen now, even though we are not seeing a closeout of that same position happening in the Jan, but the build-up already started for February, and the short positions are still at 91% odd for the market, and we've been holding on to the short position for at least 3 to 4 months now. Actually, what is the trigger that you would see for this short position to now get into a long? Because earnings are not going to be one of the triggers. Is there going to be a more sideways movement for the market till we see some kind of momentum coming from, or some triggers, positive triggers coming in?
See, so it's an excellent question, Sajid. So there are many triggers to look at. One is that what happened in the last 4 months, even with the dose of positive news flow, GST, the GDP data, etc., which was there, the rate cuts from RBI. Even with that kind of a stance in the last 5-6 months, the percentage of shorts still remained on the heavier side. Now, of course, the expectations of the next event is the budget. But assuming if there are no major changes which happens to the market expectations post-budget, then we may expect that the quantum of the short positions could remain at a very similar level, maybe a few percentage points here or there. That's what a normal change could probably happen. But the bigger change, which I believe could probably happen once we see these large cap stocks going to a revival. Now, Reliance Industries, HDFC Bank, ITC, etc., when these stocks fall by 15% to 20% odd, these stocks don't go into a V-shaped recovery. There is a zone of sideways consolidation first, and then comes a gradual spate of recovery, which has to be followed by solid data points, solid news flow attaching towards the stock price. That, I believe, could be the context where you might see unwinding of short positions. So just to put into very simple terms, it'll take some time for the shorts to withdraw their positions and come back into reversals on the long side. And there has to be a slew of data points positive, not just from an overall macro perspective, but from a stock specific perspective, and especially focused on these large cap names.
And we have seen yesterday that the support levels are now moving lower to 25,000, 24,900. Do you think that we will test that level?
Yeah, very high probability, Sajid, because as I said that most of the Nifty 50 weighted stocks are below their 200-day moving averages. To add to the names, even Bajaj Finance, Bajaj Finance, many of these stocks are below their long-term moving averages by a margin of at least 2% to 5%. And the Nifty 200 DMA is at 25,113 mark on the spot levels, which means there is a very strong likelihood that we will break this 25,113 level and fall by at least another margin of 1 to 2% just to try and come at par with the other stocks on the Nifty 50 weightage.
So Kunal, amid a market setup like this, where are you placing your bets? Any short calls, if at all?
See, we've been giving short calls for many large cap names, but today I would sense that the major play would be on Hindustan Zinc because of the kind of rally which you've seen for silver prices. So I would suggest a buy over there, and the stock has been doing fabulously well. Trying to just about move into a different tangent altogether on the higher side. So would look out for a buy with a target of 700 for Hindustan Zinc, stop loss at 670. And the interesting pocket which is shaping up as maybe a contra pocket for the markets is the FMCG pack. And you're seeing many stocks trying to get into a breakout or at least a reversal mode on the positive side. I'll suggest a buy on Godrej Consumers from that pack. Would suggest a target of 1260, stop loss at 1220.
Okay, so those are some of the stocks that Kunal's liking. Hindustan Zinc, in fact, on the fundamentals also, good set of numbers is something that the company reported day before yesterday. But let's shift focus and take you on ground at Davos, because the world's political and business elite